Attraction is not chased, it's cultivated. What if I told you that women aren't drawn to men simply because of their looks, wealth, or charm, but because of what they do when no one is watching, in the quiet hours, in the choices they make, in the hobbies they pursue? That's where the real magnetic force is born. Because hobbies aren't just pastimes, they're a reflection of your inner discipline, passion, mystery, and emotional power. And nothing is more attractive to a woman than a man who is fully immersed in his own world and doesn't need her to complete it. In today's emotionally chaotic world, women are surrounded by men trying to impress, chase, or please them. But there's something undeniably sexy about a man who doesn't chase approval, but instead cultivates depth. And that depth, it's forged in the passions he masters, the crafts he sharpens, the practices that build his spirit, strength, and story. This video isn't about alpha male hobbies or gimmicks. It's about the 11 sexiest hobbies that naturally elevate your masculine aura without even trying. Each of these pursuits will help you develop emotional intelligence, mystery, strength, self-control, and independence. The very things women can't help but feel pulled toward. You'll learn why silence can be sexier than words, how some hobbies build not just muscles, but myth, what makes women crave a man who seems too focused to care. These hobbies don't make you chase women. They make women chase you. Let's begin. Number 1, the warrior's discipline, martial arts. There's something deeply magnetic about a man who practices martial arts, not because he fights, but because he doesn't need to. He carries within him the energy of a warrior, yet he walks in silence. Martial arts aren't just about self-defense. They're about self-mastery. In a world full of impulsive, reactive behavior, a man who has trained his body and mind to remain calm under pressure stands out. He's not easily shaken. He doesn't overreact. And that kind of inner control, it radiates raw, authentic power. When women observe a man who trains in martial arts, they see more than movement. They see precision, focus, discipline, and a man who respects himself enough to sharpen his mind and body. He doesn't look for trouble, but he's never afraid of it either. This hobby reflects the Stoic ideal of living prepared, of training not because we seek danger, but because we understand its inevitability. A man who embraces martial arts embraces the Stoic truth that discomfort is the crucible of strength. Modern life softens many men. We scroll more than we sweat. We react more than we respond. But the man who practices jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, or traditional karate develops patience under fire, respect for power, and most importantly, humility and growth. And women are naturally drawn to a man with self-command, not the one who flexes in anger, but the one who knows when to walk away and when to stand still. You don't need to throw a punch to show strength. You just need to embody the kind of energy that tells the world, I could, but I choose not to. That's the kind of quiet dominance that speaks louder than words. Number 2, the silent craftsman, woodworking, leather, or metalwork. In a world addicted to speed, distraction, and constant noise, there is something irresistibly powerful about a man who works with his hands. Slowly, deliberately, and alone. Woodworking, leather crafting, blacksmithing. These aren't just hobbies. They're ancient masculine meditations. When a man spends hours shaping raw materials into something beautiful or functional, he does more than build objects. He builds himself. He learns patience. He learns precision. He learns to lose himself in the process, not the outcome. This kind of craftsmanship is a spiritual act. You become a creator, not just of tools or furniture, but of stillness and purpose. And in today's fast-paced digital age, that presence is a rare currency. From a woman's perspective, a man who engages in hands-on creative work exudes a grounded, earthy, competent energy. She sees focus. She sees confidence. She sees a man who doesn't need to talk about himself because his work speaks volumes. He doesn't rush. He doesn't react. He builds, and he builds with intention. Stoicism teaches us to focus only on what we control. And in craftsmanship, everything you touch is under your hand. You're shaping. It's the ultimate metaphor for life. You don't wait for things to happen. You carve them from raw existence. That's why this type of hobby is deeply attractive. It shows that you can sit in silence and not feel empty, that you can focus on the process, not the applause, that you can create value without seeking validation. And that's rare. The man who builds in silence doesn't compete for attention. He earns admiration without asking for it. Number 3, master of stillness, meditation, and breath work. In a culture that rewards noise, urgency, and constant stimulation, the man who masters silence becomes a mystery and a magnet. Meditation isn't just sitting with your eyes closed. It's warfare against chaos. It's a rebellion against the addiction to distraction. And a man who regularly practices meditation or breath work, he becomes nearly unshakable. Women are naturally drawn to men who radiate emotional stability, not the ones who chase, not the ones who break under pressure, but the ones who walk slowly, who pause before speaking, who aren't afraid of silence. This calmness isn't apathy. It's power that refuses to spill unnecessarily. When you sit daily, training your mind to observe rather than react, you start to shift your entire energy field. You stop chasing things outside yourself. You stop being controlled by lust, fear, anger, or validation seeking. You become centered. From the outside, that looks like mysterious self-control. From the inside, that feels like emotional freedom. Modern men suffer because they've forgotten how to breathe, literally and metaphorically. They've lost access to the inner fortress that Stoics speak of, where clarity, strength, and composure are born. But breath work and meditation are the gateway back. Each breath becomes a blade, cutting through confusion. Each moment of stillness becomes a foundation brick for the man you're building. This is not about religion. It's not about detachment from life. It's about training your nervous system to respond instead of react. To see reality as it is, not as your emotions distort it. And that self-command, it radiates. Women don't always know how to describe it, but they feel it when you walk into a room and you're calm. Not because you're avoiding emotion, but because you've tamed it. That's the energy of a king, not a performer, not a pleaser. A man who doesn't need to be seen to feel strong, because his strength is already seated inside him. Number 4, the strategic mind, chess, strategy games, and mental discipline. A man who can see 10 moves ahead never panics when someone takes a single piece off the board. There's an aura to the man who plays chess, and not just on the board. In life, in business, in relationships, he's always observing, always calculating, always calm. Because the game isn't just about winning. It's about thinking, about patience, foresight, control. And women are drawn deeply to men who don't act impulsively but instead move with intention. In a world where instant gratification has become the norm, strategic hobbies like chess, Go, or even certain immersive strategy games sharpen something rare. Delayed gratification, emotional control, and a sharp awareness of consequences. Most men chase, react, get emotionally baited. But the strategic man, he waits, he watches, he outsmarts. And this is exactly what Stoicism teaches. Stoics were strategists of life. They didn't try to control the world. They studied it. They understood timing, discipline, and restraint. They didn't fight every battle. They chose their battles. And when they moved, it was final. When you cultivate strategic thinking as a hobby, you begin to train your mind to resist distractions, to stay calm under pressure, and to embrace long-term thinking. Women pick up on this, even subconsciously. It's the man who doesn't rush to prove himself, who doesn't argue over petty things, who doesn't collapse when things don't go his way. because he's already planned 3 outcomes ahead. This is the kind of man who doesn't just look strong. He is strong. He doesn't waste his energy on people who don't deserve it. He moves like a king, not a pawn. And when a woman realizes she can't manipulate his emotions, she respects him. She desires him. Because he's not playing the same game most men are playing. He's playing chess. While others chase dopamine, he chases legacy. And that is Stoic seduction. Strength that doesn't shout, it strategizes. Number 5, the iron philosopher. Strength training and mental fortitude. In a world full of talkers, the man who trains in silence earns instant respect, not because of how he looks, but because of what his discipline says. Strength training is not just about aesthetics. It's about proving day after day that you can do hard things without needing applause. And that energy, that silence-backed power, it's one of the sexiest traits a man can carry. Women don't fall for muscles. They fall for the mind that built them. Because the man who builds himself in the gym is the man who pushes through pain, shows up even when he doesn't feel like it, has forged his will through resistance. And in Stoicism, this is the essence of virtue, the ability to act in alignment with your principles, regardless of external discomfort. The iron bar doesn't care how you feel. And that's why the bar is sacred. It confronts your weakness. It demands your presence. It rewards only consistency. When you train your body, you're not just sculpting muscle. You're shaping mental sharpness. Your walk changes. Your posture shifts. Your presence deepens. And women notice. They may not understand why they're drawn to you, but they feel the discipline vibrating off your energy. It's not vanity, it's vitality. In a world where men are becoming weaker, physically and emotionally, the man who lifts becomes a symbol, not just of health, but of mastery. And when that strength is silent, when it's wrapped in humility and calmness, it becomes irresistible. You don't need to flex. Your presence is your posture. You don't need to dominate others. You've already dominated yourself. The Stoic man builds his mind and body in harmony. Because what good is physical strength if your emotions break you? And what good is philosophy if you collapse under pressure? Combine the mind of a philosopher with the body of a warrior, and you become unshakable. The iron teaches patience. It teaches pain. It teaches peace. Train, not to impress, but to align. And watch how your aura changes everything around you. Number 6, the artist's edge, music, drawing, and the power of emotional depth. There's something magnetic about a man who can express emotion without being emotional. A man who can create through music, sketching, painting, or writing is not just showing talent. He's revealing depth. And in a shallow world, depth is deadly attractive. Here's a truth few men understand. Most women are emotionally advanced. They feel deeply. They communicate emotionally. They intuit mood, tone, energy. So when they meet a man who can navigate the emotional landscape, not with tears or volatility, but with creative control, they pause. They listen. They feel safe. They become curious. Because the artistic man doesn't need to explain himself. His silence says things his words don't. His music reflects his inner world. His drawings echo the battles he's fought in solitude. His creativity becomes a language. And that's what Stoicism teaches us. Not to deny emotion, but to master it. Not to suppress it, but to channel it into something greater. Think about Marcus Aurelius, a warrior emperor, but also a writer, a journaler, a man who captured his reflections, his fears, his philosophies, not for fame, but for clarity. That's what the modern Stoic artist does. He plays guitar not for crowd, but to untangle emotion. He sketches not for likes, but to observe silence. He writes not to be heard, but to hear himself more clearly. And that depth, that creative solitude, it Captivates. Women don't want a man who spills every emotion chaotically. They want a man who feels deeply, but stays grounded, who is passionate, but not impulsive, who is expressive, but not reactive. Creativity is emotional control and action. It's the difference between a man who lashes out and a man who creates from his pain. A man who turns heartbreak into a song, confusion into poetry, solitude into sketches. He's not trying to attract women. He's trying to understand himself. And in doing so, he becomes magnetic. Because when you combine emotional control with emotional access, you become the rarest kind of man, a grounded artist, a stoic soul, an irresistible storm of calm and chaos, shaped by wisdom. This is not softness. This is mastery. Number 7, the adventure spirit, hiking travel, and the masculine need for risk. There is something in every man, a fire that flickers, waiting for wind, a desire not just for comfort or pleasure, but for challenge, for vastness, for the unknown. And when that fire is awakened, it turns an average man into an unstoppable force. That fire is called adventure, whether it's hiking alone through mountain trails, exploring remote corners of a foreign country, or sleeping under stars with nothing but a backpack. There's a raw power in a man who chooses the unpredictable over the familiar. Modern men have been tamed, chained to routines, pacified by screens, buried in comfort, and because of that, they've lost their edge. But women haven't lost their attraction to it. They are still drawn to the man who moves, the man who is not afraid of uncertainty, the man who would rather wander into danger than wither in safety. Why? Because adventure requires courage, self-reliance, problem-solving, adaptability, presence, all traits of high value. Stoic man, he doesn't need to tell her he's strong. He's out in the wild, lifting his own pack, making his own fire, breathing in his own freedom. She feels it when she looks at him. His skin is sun-kissed, his steps are grounded, his mind is calm. He is not a boy. He is becoming a legend. And Stoicism? It feeds the spirit. The Stoics believe that comfort leads to stagnation, that adversity sharpens the soul, that detaching from luxury trains your mind to embrace hardship without panic. When you choose nature, danger, risk, distance, you're practicing the ancient art of voluntary discomfort, one of the cornerstones of Stoic strength. Adventure teaches you the exact thing modern life hides from you, that you are capable of surviving without convenience, that the unknown makes you wiser, not weaker, that freedom is not found in routines, but in risks. And here's what most men don't know. Women don't want you to play safe. They want you to be safe in the dangerous. They want to know that if everything fell apart, you could still protect, provide, lead, and thrive. The man who takes risks builds stories. He becomes mysterious. He becomes magnetic. So don't wait for adventure to come to you. Go to it. Seek the edge. Climb the hill. Book the ticket. Sleep under stars. Face the storm. Because when you do, you return a different man. One she won't forget. One she'll want to follow. Number 8. The builder's mentality. Carpentry, craftsmanship, and the masculine need to create with hands. In a world of scrolling thumbs and digital noise, the man who builds with wood, metal, stone, or sweat becomes a living contradiction. He doesn't just think or talk. He shapes, he constructs, he leaves proof of presence. Carpentry, leatherwork, metal forging, furniture crafting, knife making. These aren't just hobbies, they're rituals. The Stoics believe in action over argument, in building a life through discipline, presence, and clarity of purpose. And that's what manual craftsmanship teaches in its purest form. You measure, you cut, you fail, you adapt, you sweat. You don't hit undo, you learn. You build not just an object, but a man, Here's the paradox. In a society that worships speed and convenience, women are secretly craving something else, something solid, patient, and real. They're drawn to the man who doesn't just consume, but creates. Who knows how to use his hands not for scrolling, but for making. Who brings structure to chaos, form to rawness, beauty to simplicity. Why is this so powerful? Because craftsmanship reflects mindset. It shows patience, precision, focus, calm under pressure, a willingness to fail and try again. These are all traits of masculine emotional stability. And the Stoic builder doesn't create to impress. He creates to ground himself, to experience stillness and motion, to focus the chaos of thought into the structure of a form. He doesn't need to say he's disciplined. His workbench says it. He doesn't need to flex control. His chisels reveal it. When a woman sees a man who can make something, not just buy it, who can fix a broken hinge, design a shelf, craft a table, she sees a man she can trust. Trust with a home, trust with a family, trust with life. Because if he can shape wood with patience, he can shape his emotions the same way. That's what women feel, even if they can't explain it. So whether it's a weekend garage project, a hand-carved knife, or a polished stone tabletop, build something, not just to prove you're capable, but to remind yourself that your hands were made for more than typing. The man who can build can rebuild, and that's rare, and rare is powerful. Number 9, the iron discipline, martial arts, and the calm power control violence. Strength isn't loud. It's not found in angry outbursts, clenched fists, or inflated muscles flexed for attention. Real strength is quiet. Real strength is composed. Real strength is a man who could destroy you, but chooses not to. That's why martial arts, boxing, jiu-jitsu, Krav Maga, Muay Thai, are not just sports. They're not just physical outlets. They are Stoic disciplines. When a man trains to fight, not for ego, but for control, he becomes something primal, yet centered. He becomes dangerous in all the right ways. Why is this so irresistible to women? Because women are biologically and psychologically drawn to one timeless truth: safety and strength, but not brute strength, not chaotic strength. They're drawn to man who can protect, not provoke, who moves like a storm when needed, but lives like still water. Martial arts teach a man precision under pressure, calm in chaos, humility through defeat, respect for boundaries, instant response with maximum control. You learn that violence is not a weapon of pride, but a principled defense. And this is where Stoicism and martial arts align perfectly. The Stoic trains his mind as the fighter trains his body. Every reaction must be measured. Every move must be intentional. And nothing must ever be wasted. Not energy, not anger, not attention. You don't train to fight the world. You train so the world never forces you to lose control. And women can sense it. They don't always understand the science, but they feel the centered intensity of a man who can throw a punch and never needs to. They feel the calm in his presence, the certainty in his gaze, the grounded masculinity in his silence. In a world where men are easily triggered, reactive, emotionally volatile, the man who fights with discipline becomes undeniable. So train, not just for the body, but for the mind, for the posture, for the presence. Because the man who can fight but doesn't is the man everyone respects. And the man every woman, deep down, wants close when the storm hits. Number 10. The unshakable mind, meditation, cold showers, and the rituals of inner strength. In a world built for overstimulation, the man who can sit in silence, the man who can stand in discomfort, the man who can embrace stillness over escape, is a rare and dangerous breed. Let's be honest, most men are addicted to noise, to entertainment, to distractions that numb their emotions instead of mastering them. And what does that lead to? Reactivity, anxiety, a mind that is constantly reaching for escape instead of rising with awareness. But the Stoic trains in silence. He practices the art of detachment before the chaos comes. He sharpens his focus before the battle begins. He builds fire in the cold. That's why meditation and cold exposure aren't trends. They are ancient tools of warriors, sages, and emperors. Let's break it down. Meditation, the art of inner observation. When you sit still and breathe, not to escape, but confront, you begin to realize how wild your mind truly is. You see the ego, the fear, the loops, and more importantly, you begin to separate from them. The Stoic doesn't kill emotion. He observes it. He lets it pass like clouds without getting swept away. 5 to 10 minutes of meditation daily will increase your patience, calm your reactivity, teach you to pause before you explode, help you control attention. The most powerful currency in modern life. Women can sense this. They feel it in your energy. You're not easily rattled. You're not chasing. You're present, and presence is rare. Cold showers. Embrace discomfort. Command your nervous system. The moment you step into that icy water, your body screams, "Get out!" But you don't. You stay. You breathe. You gain control over the primal. Cold exposure is a Stoic training ground. It teaches the most powerful masculine trait of all, voluntary discomfort. You choose the pain before the world imposes it. And when life hits you with emotional coldness, you're already prepared. Rejection? You face worse in that freezing water. Betrayal? You've built resilience under stress. Temptation? You've trained your nervous system not to seek instant relief. The man who meditates daily and takes cold showers isn't just building habits. He's building neural dominance. He's rewiring himself to respond, not react. And here's the secret. Women aren't attracted to men who try to look unbreakable. They're drawn to men who've been tested and have returned still standing. Your stillness is seductive. Your silence is commanding. Your discipline is magnetic, because it's not about the ice or the cushion. It's about your willingness to confront what most avoid. So integrate this. 10 minutes of mindful breathing, 1 cold shower, and a Stoic journal reflection every morning. Do this daily, and your energy will speak before your mouth does. You won't need to prove you're powerful. You'll radiate it. Final Stoic advice. Become the man she can feel without a word. In a world where men are told to chase, to prove, to perform, the Stoic man does none of that. He simply becomes undeniable, not by force, not by fake confidence, but by mastering himself so completely that the world and the women in it can't help but feel his presence. Every hobby we discuss in this video isn't just something to do to look attractive. It's a mirror that reflects your self-respect, discipline, presence, creativity, and control. Because women aren't searching for perfection. They're searching for a man who is grounded, a man who isn't swayed by emotions, who leads without seeking validation, who feels deeply but never loses control. And that man is forged in the fire of routine, wisdom, and self-mastery. Here's what to take away. Practice hobbies that build your soul, not just your body. Lead a life that excites you, not just to impress others. Train your mind every day, because your mind is your frame. Be so rooted in purpose that no temptation, no manipulation, no silence, or rejection can shake you. This is a Stoic path. And if you're still watching, you are not average. You're a rare breed, a man ready to rise above distractions, weakness, and societal noise. So subscribe to Stoic Desire, not because we want more numbers, but because you want more power. We drop videos every week to sharpen your masculine mind, strengthen your emotional control, reclaim your energy and direction, and teach you what no one else will. The Stoic truths behind attraction, discipline, and self-respect. This is your mental gym. This is where men like you are built. Quiet, strong, undeniable. So hit that button, because we don't chase. We don't beg. We don't break. We build. We lead. We rise. This is Stoic Desire, and your next evolution starts now.